Hey everybody, Alvie for Tech Dissected. It's time for another boat. I have missed you guys. I'll catch you guys up on where I've been for the past few weeks and all that kind of stuff. But welcome to another episode of Boat. You got me and my co-host Tony McAfee, my other co-host Chuck Haines tonight. It is good to see you guys. It is so. Let's just go ahead and get this thing started. I've missed you guys. I've been wanting to get on another boat, so let's do this. Tony's actually driving tonight. I'll explain all that stuff in just a little bit. But welcome, guys. Tech Dissected's Boat.
Thanks, Alvie. Good to be here. I'm Tony McAfee. Used to write for Tech Dissected, still write for Android Guys, and we've got Chuck Haines on with us. Say hey, Chuck.
Evening, all.
All right, we've got some very mundane stuff to talk to you about tonight. No, I'm just kidding. We got some exciting stuff to talk to you about tonight. I've been spending a couple days with my new magical unicorn bacon machine, and I've been absolutely loving it, as much as most people have, and I'm one of the very few people who have taken the liberty to fix my yellow banding issue. So I can talk about that in a little bit too. What I'd like to start off with is, and I should have mentioned this to you, Chuck, but what I'd like to start off with is, you've had your gear live for what, a week now, 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks?
About 2 weeks, yep.
All right, thoughts 2 weeks in, thoughts?
Thoughts 2 weeks in. I still love it. It's really, I never really was a watch guy, but I find myself actually putting it on every morning when I get up. It's nice because a lot of times I have my phone sitting there and it might buzz, or it might be in my pocket and I'm driving or something, and you want to figure out, is it really even worth reaching into my pocket to look, at my phone? And the watch really does a really, really good job of that. I can very quickly triage an email, see if it's even worth something, or just the fact that, if I want to navigate somewhere, just, pull it up, talk to it, does what, it's, I guess maybe it's the epitome of lazy. Because I don't have to pull my phone out now, but I don't know. I'm digging it. Plus the range on this thing is actually shockingly good. I've gone pretty much anywhere Wi-Fi can go in my house. I've gone probably that distance with the phone and the watch, and it still worked.
Nice.
Which is pretty shocking for Bluetooth, I gotta say. A lot of people have been reporting, battery drain issues. Oh, it's been draining the heck out of my phone. I haven't noticed it. I haven't actually noticed that it's really done any more drain than without using it. It uses Bluetooth low energy, so the whole point of low energy is Bluetooth without all the drain. I have not noticed a substantial increase in drain as a result of using the Android Wear. So yeah, I'm still a big fan of it. I'm kind of waiting for more watch faces. The watch faces that come with it kind of stink. And Google hasn't actually released an official watch face API. Actually, one of the things to talk about, we can talk about it now, is Google has kind of said, wait, guys, we know you're making watch faces, but hold off, please. We promise you we're making an API for it. We're going to have something for you here shortly. And then we'll have the full API when we release L, which I'm not really sure why it depends on releasing L, but they basically said we'll have the full watch and API when we release L. So as of right now, there are actually watch faces for it. I guess they're kind of a hacked up way of getting the watch face working. I'm using one right now that I actually really, really like a lot. It's ACW watch face, I think it's called. It's just very simple. It's the time and the date. Really, all I wanted for a watch face was the time and the date. And a lot of them, I think there's actually only 2 watch faces that come with the gear live that have time and date, which is kind of crazy.
That is weird. Yeah, I had to specifically look for one that didn't have it on my talk, and I can totally empathize or sympathize with you. Maybe not sympathize, that might not be the right word, but I totally know what you mean with the watch thing, because I've never worn watches just because I have huge wrists, and I don't like to cover the tattoos up. But when I got my first smartwatch, which is a Qualcomm Talk, when I got that, I started wearing that every day, and I did. I wore it absolutely every day and pretty much everywhere, even in the beginning of summer, even though I'd sweat a lot, until I switched to a blue phone, which I tried to use it, but it was on 4.2.2 and it did not have the Bluetooth Low Energy, and it just sucked the battery down. So now that I'm switched back, maybe I can use it, but I'm kind of waiting for an Android Wear now. But yeah, it was the same thing with me. Just having those notifications on your wrist was so awesome. So I think having one that's designed, the UI is designed by Google, would be even better.
Yep, and for kind of what I'll call beta hardware and software, because that's really what it is right now, it works extremely well. I've not had a single hiccup. I've walked out of range, and had it disconnect from the watch, which it has a little icon when it's actually disconnected from the watch, so you can tell when you're out of range. And then I'll walk back into range, and it'll pick right up and connect right to the watch. There's only been one time that I've been using it next to the phone, and it disconnected for some random reason, and it took a couple minutes to connect back. Unfortunately, it was when I was actually trying to use it to navigate somewhere, which is kind of like the worst time to lose it. But yeah, for what I'll call beta hardware and software, it's pretty polished. And I have not had any issues whatsoever. It's fast. With the only time I've ever noticed lag doing anything on it is when you first set the phone up and it's syncing all the apps over, because you don't know it's doing it. But when you first sync up the phone to your sync up the watch to your phone, because I've been flashing some different ROMs on the phone, and every time you do, it's easier just to reset the watch, which resets it, and then you repair it, and it just pushes everything over. Takes it like 2 minutes to do, which is also kind of cool because you can repair it with a new phone from scratch in about 2 minutes. To have it push everything over and set up. But while it's doing that kind of push, which it doesn't tell you it's doing, you just know it's doing, yeah, there's some lag. But once that's done, I mean, the thing is just incredibly smooth. And battery life, I'm sitting right now at 48%, and I've had it off since probably about 7 a.m. this morning, so I'm looking at 15 hours right now.
Well. All right, so here's me. I've got a Pebble. I've got the red Pebble, not a Pebble Steel or anything like that. And I bit the bullet like 2 weeks before they dropped that video about Android Wear and everything, so I was like, immediate buyer's remorse, So knowing that probably tainted my opinion on the Pebble anyway. And I was like, immediately it's really stinking cool, but I'm also immediately frustrated with the whole thing. Like, it didn't quite... I don't know. It's like they didn't know what to do with it. Like, it either didn't handle Hangouts, or it's trying to be like turn-by-turn directions on this little small low-res screen. Like, I was just very disappointed. And then for me, my Sony Ultra Z has low Bluetooth, but I don't know if the Pebble does or not, because I noticed a huge battery drain using it. So like you, Tony, as soon as I got it, I'm like, I want to wear it every day, and it's the best thing ever, and I'm part of the future, and the future is now, and all this stuff, and then. 2 weeks later, I'm like, where is it? I don't know what shelf and what drawer I've stuck it in. So to hear you still excited 2 weeks later, Chuck, about yours, I'm excited about wearables again, especially that 360. I mean, if I don't get that, I'll be like crazy.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking to myself a lot. I really, really have come to like my Gear Live a lot.
Really?
Yeah. It's a square, the whole people square versus circle,
Right.
It's my wrist perfectly. It has worked 100%. I've had zero issues with it whatsoever. So, Moto, I think I'm actually coming to the point now where Moto is going to have to do something other than just a circular watch to get me to buy it.
I got you. That makes sense, yeah.
What if it was a circular watch with sapphire glass?
Yeah, that might do it.
Dude, right now, as it sits, I can't imagine having glass on my wrist because I've smacked the talk pretty hard against the door a couple times, and it's plastic. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, so don't hold me to it. But I'm pretty sure it's plastic. It feels like plastic on the front, and that's the only reason I can imagine it hasn't shattered. So I've bugged myself out pretty bad with that, and I would be really scared with a glass watch face on my wrist.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's pretty hard.
I've scraped this against the wall a couple times, but I have not hit it hard. I've kind of been cognizant of, not I'm still. It's still. We're still 2 weeks in now. 6 months from now, I might have banged it 100 times, and I can really tell you how it's going to hold up.
Yeah.
But so far, I'm still cognizant that it's there, so I've been pretty careful with it. I've definitely scraped it a couple times on the wall, and I haven't noticed anything yet. So yeah, Sapphire. I think that actually would. Battery life might, but give me some functionality that I can't live without. What that is, I don't know, but I guess we'll see.
Well, and that's what I've learned with just things in general, like Scribble Knots. If you want to go to video games, and Sackboy. What's that game called? Anybody play video games? One was Sackboy, Sony's game. Anyway, create your own level type of games. Go back to the old NES game, even with Excitebike. Like anytime you have like, what does it need to be? I don't know. Like I'm not that smart. You decide what the killer app needs to be, and then I'll buy it because of it. Like, everybody's always asked me, like, and I probably should be better at it, but like stuff like that, like I don't know. Like, there's people with much better, bigger degrees, with much bigger brains and better imagination, creativity. You make that happen, and then I'll buy it and purchase it and use it, and thank you every day of my life for it.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because there's kind of a little bit of an uproar right now with kind of some people in wearables because it's still in its infancy. People are really figuring out, well, what should the wearable do? What should it not do? Minimum, I guess, is that the way you pronounce the keyboard?
Minuum.
Minuum.
It's like continuum, but minuum.
Okay, Minuum just came out and said, yeah, we've got the keyboard, on the watch, and people are like, why? Just why? So there's a lot of people that are angry because some people are just seeing it as a smaller smartphone, which it's not. It's designed to be a complement to the smartphone. Notification based, voice based. It's supposed to be an addition to the smartphone, not a replacement for. So yeah, it's going to take some time to really figure out what's the best use for the watch as far as in conjunction with apps on your phone.
Yeah, and to me, I don't understand why there would be an uproar about it. I don't get that, because to me, don't get me wrong, and when I first got the talk, I thought, man, this thing could use a keyboard because I would because it had the ability to do the auto replies with 10 different preset text message replies. So I thought, well, it'd be really nice to be able to tap down just, BRB or something real quick. But the more I used it, the more I realized that if I want to interact, I want to interact with the phone. And also, I get so many new phones, I really do want to interact with the phone. I want to have this, I do want to pull it out of my pocket. I want to get it and use it. And that's one of the other reasons I haven't been using the Talk lately, is because even since I've got one with Bluetooth low power now, is that or low energy, is because I want to use the phone. But I can say now that I've come around to the school of thought that no, I don't need a keyboard on it. I'm glad they're making them. I am glad they're making them and perfecting them, because there will be eventually some app that you'll have that you'll really want a keyboard, even if it's just like a stupid little Flappy Bird game and you need to enter in your name. Just something like that. But just there will be something where you'll want the ability to have the keyboard on there, and you'll be glad you have it. But no, I don't think you need to make it. Nobody's going to be typing in a status update on their wrist. Nobody's going to be. You're not uploading pictures. You're not composing emails. God, I hope you're not composing emails on your wrist. And but it's true. It's true. But yeah, I'm kind of with you now. Originally, I thought, yeah, it was cool keyboard, the Minuum for Google Glass, really awesome. But now it's kind of like, no, not that awesome. Not as awesome as I thought.
But that being said, let us decide that. Develop it, make it, present it, and let me decide that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It'll be good for people who already own Minuum.
Do what?
I said it'll be good for people like me who already own the Minuum keyboard. So I own it, but I don't use it because I'm waiting for them to implement the swiping feature to their keyboard. Because if they did, I would use that. That'd be my main keyboard.
Yeah. I'm switch key heavy. I use that on all my stuff, and it's memorized my language easy. Yeah. I can hit an H and pretty much type in a whole sentence because it knows I'm going to say, hey, call you right, whatever my sentence is going to be. It's just smart that way. Let me decide that if I want to. If I want to type an email, let me decide that, Tony. Don't let Google decide that for me.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not the type of person, I don't want to talk to like I really liked the Google Now, Hello Google Everywhere and stuff, and I enabled it on this to check it out. But then I got bored with it, and right now this one's not picking it up. The OnePlus one's not picking up the voice as easy as it should, so it's not as useful as you might think. But I don't need that. I'm not talking to my phone. I enjoy touching my phone to interact with it. So there's very few situations where I can't touch my phone screen and make it do what I need it to do. And I can do that quicker than trying to describe to my phone what I want it to do.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. I had the OK, and I even having the wristwatch, I find that really the only time I use voice is if I want to send an SMS real quick, like I just want to send a quick text message to my wife or whatever, or if I'm searching for something local, like if I want to find a local bar or restaurant or something. That's about the only 2 times I found myself using voice. Other than that, I'm like you. I'll type it or do whatever I need to do for it.
Well, yeah, and I think it's demographically or whatever you want to call it. Like people like us, we're the exact same way. Because me too. I'm much rather going to pull out my phone and type in all that kind of stuff rather than I feel like I'm calling Kit. I need you, buddy. Like talking into my watch or whatever. But my mother, God bless her, I know you watch the show, Mom. I love you to death, and I'm so glad you have this as an option. She talks to her phone for everything. She sends out emails. She sends out long texts and all that kind of stuff because her fingers are small, and her eyes don't work the same way as they used to. And she can sit there and say, in 20 seconds, this long text or long email that would take her days sometimes to type out on the phone. So, I mean, it just depends on, who's using it and what they're using it for.
That's funny. That's how I started my little McAfee tech consulting business that I had for a little while, just a local thing, because I was at a Chinese food restaurant picking up some sushi, Japanese food restaurant picking up some sushi. Sorry, everybody. And I heard a group of older ladies, middle-aged to older ladies, sitting at a table, and one of them said, "How do you turn the volume on this thing down?" And literally six ladies who were over the age of 50 or 60, all of them had Android phones. And I was thinking, this is awful. I wish they had iPhones because they'd know how to use them. I mean, and that's the truth. Like, I love that they have Android phones, but it's really probably would be better for them. But this is how I did it. I asked one of them, so how did you get this phone? And they said, I asked the salesman for a phone that I could talk my emails into. And then I've heard that several times since then. I just wanted a phone that I could talk to and it would email someone. So that is a huge thing for people who aren't familiar with touchscreens.
That's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. I mean, I'm never going to talk into my watch. I feel goofy doing it. Like even their big promo video had the guy sitting on the bus. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Like I'm not going to do that. I'm not.
Plus everyone around you is going to look at you like, what's wrong with that guy?
It just ain't happening. But for plenty of people, they will. And there's plenty of the stuff on there. I say put it all out. I say develop everything, put it out, find a way to monetize it, make some money. Reward your developers and go for it. Stink and go for it and let us decide. And then they'll figure out what works. Keyboards may not be it and they quit doing it. Keyboards may be the big thing if somebody figures out how to make that happen. Have you ever used a stinking iPhone keyboard? Oh my goodness.
Oh.
It feels like an old 1920s typewriter. I got on that thing the other day. Somebody had one. I was like, just here's what I want to say. Make it happen. But, just because Android's figured out swipe and they figured out predictive text correctly and all that kind of stuff, and it works because they figured that out. So, if somebody figures something out, and Minuum may be it, that the way that they handle stuff on a wearable or something like that. Who knows?
Well, I really like what Minuum's doing, and I really enjoy Minuum as a keyboard. Like, if I didn't have the option to swipe, I would use Minuum exclusively. But your brain has, similar to how long it took everyone to adopt swipe, your brain has to work in a certain way or be open in a certain way to even try to do Minuum, because you have to be able to force your brain not to care where anything is. Like, you just literally have to think, all right, now, if you're like me, you can probably two-thumb, if you've ever owned a BlackBerry, you can probably two-thumb text on a QWERTY keyboard without looking, right? So your thumbs are always going to forever remember where each of those letters are. So you're basically on Minuum, you're doing the same thing, but you're not raising your finger up to different levels, so you're just going like this across the keyboard. But it's still QWERTY. It's still
weird.
Just turn the camera on.
Weird. I keep wanting to try it, and
there's a free version out now.
Bad for me for not trying it, because it's only a couple bucks. I'm going to support them anyway, or need to.
Yeah.
But I haven't. I just love SwiftKey. I just love it. I love it. If I could just marry it, I would. I love it.
I'm a huge SwiftKey fan, although the new Android L keyboard, the material design, I've kind of fallen in love with that. I found that the very aggressive setting in the Google keyboard for predictions for me has been as good, if not a little bit better than SwiftKey ever was.
Wow.
Which is saying something, because SwiftKey was the best. I've tried them all. And SwiftKey, I always went back to SwiftKey because it's the only thing that I could type literally every letter wrong, and it would figure out what I meant. And most of the time, I didn't even look at what I was typing. I tried Minuum, but the problem I have is when I'm typing, a lot of things I type on my phone is emails for work, and those are not always English words. They're programming terms or code names for programming stuff. And I found myself having to switch to the regular keyboard so much because it's not a real word when I'm typing. It's some programming slang or something like that. That was the only reason I couldn't keep Minuum on there, was because I couldn't train it well enough for all the non-English stuff that I end up putting in emails.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the things to overcome with any of the current gesture keyboards started by Swipe. But that's one of the reasons I can't get away from Swipe. Swipe, much like Apple or Android with their app ecosystem, it would take me so long. It syncs across all my devices, and every time I sign in and get a new device, it downloads my entire dictionary. So all of my wife's name is Kayla with a C, so it's not like programmed into any dictionary, but it's in my keyboard. So instead of having to reprogram her name or her, any of those just different odd names, I always have it. So I can't get away from it. I've invested so much into this keyboard.
Well, SwiftKey's got the same thing. They've got their SwiftKey Cloud, which syncs your dictionary across all the devices. Now, the one thing and Swipe might do this too. So if they do, jump in and say they do. But SwiftKey will also do contact recognition, so you can let it scan your contacts in your Gmail and pick all those into your dictionary. But it can also look at your SMS, Twitter, and your Gmail, pick up custom things you've put in those. And if it sees it enough times, it'll add it to your dictionary.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I haven't used SwiftKey. I own SwiftKey because I got it as a free premium app on the Amazon store a long time ago. But I stopped using it because they didn't have gestures back then when I started using it. So I was using Swipe. I used Swipe exclusively from the time Swipe came out until I got Flex T9 off of, as a free premium app on the Amazon App Store. And Flex T9, for some reason, Swipe went through a phase in their beta phase where they were getting really, really bad with their own context recognition was getting really bad, so it was trying to guess words, and it was always getting them wrong. So I switched to Flex T9 for a while, and then I switched back to Swipe when they came out of beta. Or right before, when it was available for purchase on the Play Store. So, and since then I've been using Swipe. And I don't know if SwiftKey probably does this too, but I love well, you can barely see it because it's all white, but I love that you can look how small my keyboard is. That's jacked down to the small setting. And that's one of the reasons I will gladly move over to Minuum if you're watching, if you ever by chance watch this, any of you Minuum guys up in Canada, please incorporate the gesture settings to your keyboard It would make me so happy. And there's no reason you can't do it because any other version of your Minium keyboard is totally based on the technology to do the gestures. The little keyboard they show you with a ring, the one they show you using the what's it called? The motion control thing. I forget what it's called now. Yeah, all of those are all based. There's no point of contact, which means it's just judging where your finger is and where you stop and where you go. So since there's no point of contact, it's using the technology. All they need to do is put that in the keyboard as a swipe feature, and you'd have exactly what everybody's been begging for. So.
Now, why do you want it? Because you're faster that way, or what?
Oh yeah. Well, my thing is, I'm really fast on. I'd have to download it, but I'm really fast on Minium with 2 thumbs. So with 2 thumbs, I can be just as fast, if not faster, than I am with swipe. But I'll set it on. I'm like, you know what? No, I'll go re-downloading apps, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna put Minium on here again, and I'm gonna use this for a week and try and see if I can't switch over again. And then something happens, and I have a situation where I have to text with one hand, and then it's just a pain to have to do it with one thumb. I mean, it still works. If you couldn't do swipe, and you could get your brain around the single-line keyboard.
Yeah.
Because it's still QWERTY, it's just smushed. It's still exactly where all the things are. But if you could, I just can't stand doing it with one thumb. So if I could do it, and I would be able to swipe that way. I know that I could do it, and I would totally love to have that much of my screen free, or make it a floating keyboard so I can do it right here or something. I mean, just anything. There's so many possibilities.
Yeah.
There's so many possibilities, and I don't know why they haven't incorporated that gesture technology into the phone yet. But like I said, it's every other. The Google Glass Minium. You're literally using a trackpad on the side of the glass to do it, so it has to be swipe. You're seeing the keyboard, and they do it where they have like a electrode stuck to each side of a person's arm, and then the keyboard drawn on the arm, and they're doing this. So they have the technology, they just haven't put it in the keyboard yet, and I don't know why. Because they'd be doing way better if they had.
You think it's a legal issue?
No, because we've got Swipe, we've got SwiftKey, we've got Flex T9, we've got the Android keyboard itself, and now we've got, iOS didn't, they just allowed third-party keyboards, but they've got all these. I mean, everybody's using the gesture control, the gesture keyboards now.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
I hear your frustration, man.
Yeah.
Does Swipe do the you can gesture through the space bar and then it starts a new word? Because I've been trying to use that with the stock Android keyboard. Mm-hmm. You can use gestures, and if you just gesture through the keyboard, it starts a new word.
No, Swipe, you have to pick your finger up every time you want to start a new word. It does insert spaces, obviously. But the thing that Swipe does that nobody else does is the swipe up to capitalize. So, like, say I'm swiping a name. A name, it's already going to capitalize it. But say I'm swiping McDonald's or something where it wouldn't normally capitalize the first letter. McDonald's is a bad example, but you know what I mean. You just swipe from the first letter of the word up the screen and still hold, and then swipe the rest of it. Or if you want to capitalize the whole word, you swipe up the screen and circle around, and then come down and swipe the rest of it, so you don't have to constantly hit the caps or double tap caps to caps lock. That's what bugs me, that it doesn't work on the stock Android keyboard. But I'm so addicted to the way that Swipe works. I'm so not addicted, but I'm so wrapped up in the way Swipe works that the first thing I do is put my main Google account on a phone, and then I immediately go into the Play Store, make sure Swipe gets downloaded before I do any of my other signing in, because I can't handle it. I can't handle, and also Swipe remembers. I sign into that first one, and like my personal email account is PraxabeetleX42. So good luck emailing me if you heard that just now. But you can obviously tell that that's an odd thing, and my Swipe, I can just swipe the whole thing immediately, and it's perfect.
Well, and you talking about that's the first thing you do. I'm weird with mine. It's the last thing I do.
Keyboards?
Yeah. Like if I flash a new ROM or get a new phone or whatever, it's the weirdest. I'll use straight bone stock, whatever the keyboard is. I won't add any like personalization to it. I'll sign into everything with that stupid keyboard that doesn't work. Of course, Android L is coming out, so I'll be happy with that. And then finally, after everything's set up exactly how I want it, then I'll put SwiftKey on there and set it. I'm like, that's the dumbest way to set up a phone. That's the dumbest thing I could do, but I do it every time. I've done it for years that way.
That's pretty
I'll
funny,
actually cancel out of the initial setup for the phone just so I can get in through.
Would you really?
Yeah. I actually usually have the SwiftKey APK like on the external SD.
Wow.
So that I can install it before I even sign into my Google. Well, the other reason I have to do that too is I use two-factor auth for Google, and your SMS won't come through if you're in the initial setup screen. So I'll do the initial setup screen. It'll want to see send the text message, but I can't see the text message to get the code that I need to do the two-factor auth.
Wow.
Oh, and let's mention this. My sister is using a one of the small Desire phones that looks like an HTC M7, but it's just a small Desire phone. It's just very small. It's Chinese, so it only gets Edge here. But it's just she wants a small phone. She does not want a big phone, so that's what I got her. Well, somehow every time I get I have ADW put on and I have Swipe put on for her. Now, on the older versions of the Sense keyboard, it does not have swipe the gesture prediction. So somehow every time I see her, she says, "Yeah, something's different with my phone." So somehow she's always switched back to the stock launcher and the stock HTC Sense keyboard.
Yep.
And somehow this last time she did it, she switched herself back to the Sense keyboard because I don't know what she did, but in some of her messing around, she got the Quartz keyboard on there. She changed Swipe to QWERTZ instead of QWERTY. And I had to root through Swipe setting to find it. So if anybody knows, if you're ever watching this video and you know what the quick key to change this keyboard type is, please email me, hit me up on Hangouts or something so I can email the Swipe team and say, hey, why do you have a quick key for this? I get for changing languages, but nothing else. Not for changing the layout.
I tell you why the keyboard keeps going back to Sense, and the reason I know this is because it happens to me all the time. It's a bug in Android 4.4.2, I think, which is what a lot of the newer ones are running, or it might have been a previous version.
I was going to say she's at 4.03.
If a keyboard, and maybe it goes as far back as that, maybe it's a Sense issue. Maybe it's just a Sense issue, but if you upgrade the keyboard from the Play Store, it disables it and kicks you back to the default one.
Yep,
that would make sense.
It is the most absolutely insane, annoying thing because I hate the Sense keyboard. And it always does. Anytime SwiftKey updates, there it is. Boom, knocks it out, and then I got to go back in and set it. And I don't ever realize it does it until I try and type something, and then I'm like, oh my god, I've got this awful keyboard.
Yeah, crazy.
Now, does she know what launcher she's supposed to be using and all that?
She didn't know what a launcher is if I told her.
Okay, so here's my guess with that. Same thing like with Chuck's. When it updates, it kind of closes the launcher. Are you getting bugged right now?
Yeah. I've got so many bugs going on here.
It closes the launcher, and then when you hit home, it asks you to set a default again.
That's right.
And she's probably
default.
Because the default launcher probably says something like HTC Home or something like, I don't know what it's called or whatever. And this other one's ADW. It sounds some weird numbers and letters and stuff. That'd be my guess, but
okay.
That's actually a good point. I bet you're right.
Yeah. Let's see.
All right, Tony. Well, I know you've been waiting to talk about it, so why don't you talk about your OnePlus?
Okay. All right. Well, if you guys are going to twist my arm.
Hey, look. Apparently, I have a OnePlus One right now. Is my video weird?
It is.
It is.
You've got the yellow tint of the OnePlus One.
I figured I changed. I don't know what's going on my side here, but apparently something's weird.
So I have a OnePlus. Is it an external webcam?
No, it's a laptop, but it's I'm moving the lid.
Yeah, it's a weak connection then.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't move that lid too much. You might actually cut out.
All right, sorry, continue.
Oh no, it's cool. So yeah, okay. So I'll start out with saying, first of all, um, I can totally see the draw of Sony phones for people who don't root now, and this is because this is the first, obviously it's the second CyanogenMod phone. It comes now. This is something I didn't know or expect, but it comes not rooted. It's not the. I thought that because it had CyanogenMod on it, it would be rooted. But it is not, and obviously for warranty reasons, I just assumed it would be though because it's CyanogenMod. But it's still got the CM theme engine, which the newer versions of the theme engine for AOSP ROMs, or people are gonna get on me for that, but for theme engines for the CyanogenMod and CyanogenMod style ROMs, is they you can do everything from font, the normal stuff, the wallpapers, the icons. And all the way down to the boot animation. So I can actually change the boot animation on this without being rooted, which is like probably one of my favorite things about the phone, aside from how awesome it is. So getting deeper a little bit, I did have the yellow tint issue on the OnePlus One. Now I didn't notice. People have gone crazy about this. Now I understand it's not because of the issue. It's because of the warranties and the problems that the company's been giving you. I'm a little bit more easygoing. I'm a little bit more laid back. So I'm not going to say anybody's overreacting necessarily, but I never would have ever noticed this issue if Google Plus hadn't been blowing up my stream about it. And I actually lied to several people. And at first I didn't lie. I didn't realize it had the issue. So I'm like, no, the bottom of my screen's not yellow. But then the more I looked at it, because people kept asking about it, the more I realized, yeah, there was a little bit of. I wouldn't have even said yellow, but there was a little bit. It would just look like it was off white or just some not just almost like the backlight wasn't even. So. I used the guise of needing a UV light to take my wife to get her nails done. And I used the guise of taking my wife to get her nails done to go use the UV light. And I don't have any yellow. I don't know. It's a webcam, so you probably wouldn't be able to tell anyway because it was so light. It was so light, guys, that you actually would have had to have been looking at it with a white screen, inspecting everything to try to find something wrong with it. At least for me. And I've got good eyesight, so it's not like I eat a lot of carrots. Anyway, no, it's not like it's not like something that you would buy the phone from the store and realize immediately. It might be something I would have noticed myself after a long time of use and having used it in more situations. But you can only tell when it's white on the screen. So first of all, if you use the on-screen navigation bar, which I don't, but if you do, you would never ever notice it, because it's black down there. So that's my first thing. And some of the people who are complaining about this do use the on-screen navigation bar. So that's one of my first grips is it's not even going to be an issue for you. Unless you're in immersive mode, I guess. So that's not a thing. But anyway, that's you can fix it. It takes less than 10 minutes, and they didn't charge me to use the UV light. So, and maybe it's because I took my wife in there to get her nails done. I don't know. UV lights are $15 on Amazon, the same ones that they use in the nail parlor. So I know one of the guys, the guy who initially started complaining about this online, he bought one. He says it did not fix his, so I don't know. It did fix mine. I don't know. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know why some of them are getting fixed, some of them aren't. To me, it's starting to. And don't get me wrong. If I was not such a happy camper with the phone and I just want a device that's going to work for me, I might care more. But I'm really laid back and easygoing, and I think there's no way, even if it was yellow, even if I did notice it myself, I would never send the phone back because of that. Because and I've asked this publicly, and someone said Nexus 5, but what device can you buy for this price that's anywhere near this specs? And the answer is there's no device. There's nothing comparable to this that you can buy outright. Somebody said Nexus 5. I actually went and figured out exactly how much better this phone is than the Nexus 5, but just to make a point. But no, so a little bit more about the phone. I'm not. I really like the back camera, but I miss my Life Pure XL, the 16 megapixel rear camera. That thing was fantastic. Probably the best camera I've ever owned, even regular camera. So this is a 13 megapixel shooter. It's about par with other 13 megapixels. It's CyanogenMod's camera has some pretty neat features. I like this UI. You can actually go through and set these. You can uncheck the ones you don't want. So you've got like night mode here, action shot, slow shutter. Don't try to use this without a tripod. Beauty mode. This basically just removes the freckles from my face. Smart scene. It's true. I don't look like the same person if I take a beauty mode. HDR. So you've got a lot of options there, and you can go through and remove those from the list because it's kind of clunky to have to swipe through them all to get to the one you want.
I like that. That looks good though. The
does.
And all that.
Yeah, everything about it's really nice. It takes pictures really fast, and that's slow shutter. So that's when I tell you it takes pictures really fast. It does not take pictures fast in slow shutter. But like say auto, I should be able to. So it took let's see how many pictures I actually took. I tapped 5 times, so I took 3 pictures. So I guess it's not as good as I'm saying, but still, I mean the camera's okay. The camera's par, above par for regular smartphones out there. The front camera is fantastic for a front camera. It's a 5 megapixel front camera. It is very, very good. It is much better than anything else out on the market for any of those 1 to 2 megapixel front cameras on regular devices. Let's see, and then to me, I had rooted every phone I've owned from the second Android phone I ever owned, all the way down to the Nexus 5. I rooted all those phones and ROM'd them. And I ROM'd for the options that I wanted to have from the ROMs. Having a ROM with having a phone with CyanogenMod built in, I don't feel the need to root. And I would change like the DPI if it was me. I'd make it a little bit higher resolution. But other than that, that's really the only thing I'd change. And I'd do the ad block and stuff like that, but I don't care about that stuff as much. So this phone is ideal for anyone who is used to rooting and ROMing, but doesn't want to have to deal with the bugginess of ROMs. And because if I did root it, I'd put a 444 ROM on it or something. I'd want to be up to date, and I probably will root this way if there's ever a stable material Android L before they get Android L released for it. But until then, I'm a happy camper. I'm on KitKat. That's all I really care about right now. Let's see, other interesting things. I'm trying to think of the things that people don't talk about in their little video reviews. I've just aired to go ahead and use the regular buttons instead of the on-screen navigation bar, and I was just showing Chuck this. So I'll show you why. I have the menu button mapped to activate because this always has the on-screen overflow menu button present. So I mapped the menu button to activate recents just with a short tap. So if you enable the on-screen nav bar and you click recents, see how slow that shutter is? Just that time was better. But that when I shared a video about it because I could not deal with that in daily use. But it is really neat that they offer that on-screen navigation bar for Nexus users. You've got all your normal CyanogenMod settings. I noticed a couple people in review noticed that there's something tap to turn off. So it's got tap to wake on the screen. So double tapping the screen will wake it up. It's got a lot of gesture controls too, more than any other phone I've used. And people were complaining that it says that there's tap to go to sleep, but tapping to go to sleep doesn't actually work. Well, that's because it's actually you tap the notification bar to go to sleep, just like the expose module. So you can tap to wake and tap to sleep. Just have to tap the notification bar. Or if you're like me, I'm using Solo Launcher, which has the plug-in to download. You just tap anywhere on the launcher and it'll go to sleep. Do you guys have any questions about the phone while I'm thinking of other interesting things to say about it?
Have you
Uh,
run?
Go ahead.
Have you run into any bugs? Anything that doesn't work like you would expect it to?
Um, no. I think I haven't had any forced closes. Um, I've had Google Plus stop unexpectedly once, I think, and I've been using it since Saturday. So um, people say that this isn't a stable version of the software, or it wasn't ready to be released, and I don't get that. Um, I could be in my mind just editing those things out, but nothing sticks out from me that like, and not just thinking because it's CyanogenMod, so there's going to be bugs. I haven't noticed anything. People say this isn't flagship quality software. I don't get it. I don't know anyone who would pick the software that's on their device over this for any other reasons than you might need, like you like the Exchange security on Sense. So but I don't know anyone who would pick, who likes AOSP more than skin software, who would pick another flagship software over this. And because it's feature packed.
What's battery life like on it?
Oh yeah, let's see. I'll go ahead and share that again. I'll find my share here. Oh, wrong thing. Let's see. Here we go. Let me screen share. Okay, so here I've got. Wrong one. Yep, sorry, I didn't even start the screen share. Okay. Here I've got the pictures of my full day. This is from this morning, so I pulled the thing off the charger this morning, and just immediately, because I realized I hadn't done a full battery cycle on it all the way down to 0, so I just immediately started hammering on it from when I woke up. And so I have 8 hours and 16 minutes of battery time off the charger at 4% battery. And you see I used Need for Speed 5% of battery. That was about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours maybe, of Need for Speed play. I also have Leo's Fortune, which I don't know why it's not on here, but must be really low battery drain. But I played Leo's Fortune for about an hour. And I did a lot of YouTube. I was watching all the Weird Al videos and then a couple other videos on there. And then this is the best part. So with all that, knowing how much I hammered on it, using very battery-intensive things in streaming and video and games, this was my screen on time. So if you can't see that, that screen on time is almost 7 hours, which by the end of it, it was over 7 hours because I was at 4% when I took these screenshots. 6 hours and 56 minutes of the 8 hours and 16 minutes that it was on, so less than an hour and a half of idle time. And that was with heavy usage. That wasn't just like, imagine if I was just checking email, checking text messaging, and checking Google Plus and stuff. Like, imagine if I was just doing those things, what my actual overall time could have been with that screen on time. So 7 hours with the heaviest use that you might use your phone for on any given day. With airport-style use, let's call it. With layover-style use, I got 7 hours of screen on time this morning. So very, very cool. Very good battery life there. And I'm looking forward to what might be coming with the next update, because we're still on 4.4.2 here, so we may be seeing some better battery life in the future.
That's, like, seriously amazing. Why is that phone getting 7 hours of on screen under heavy use, and mine, or a typical phone, is 4?
Well, it is a 3100 milliamp hour battery, which is a 3100 is, let's see, almost, what is that, 8,000 more than, or 800 more than the Nexus 5.
Okay.
We're talking, it's a big battery to support. Okay. It's a 5.5-inch IPS display though.
Right.
But yeah, and it's Cyanogen, so I'm sure the thing with Cyanogen is they've got some talented developers, and their developers that are on Cyanogen's team are they're hackers for phones. Not like I'm not saying anything bad about them, but they're coders who do it for fun, so they've learned the most. They're self-taught, and in a lot of ways they're far more talented than the developers on Samsung and LG and Sony's team, because they're not just corporate people who went to school for it for so many years and just know the right way how to do something. They're people who've been doing this since Gingerbread, or since Eclair, and Steve since what's the first one? Donut. The cupcake, sorry.
Cupcake.
So they've been doing it forever, and they know what they're doing. So, and I'm not saying they're gods, because they're not. I don't agree with that. There's plenty of talented devs out there, but they're people who know how to get something done and know how to make it last. And their primary, reason for existence in Cyanogen is to get a better experience out of your phone. So that's why it gets such good battery life, because that's the whole reason Cyanogen Mod came about. They wanted a better phone experience than what the manufacturers were going to give you.
Gotcha, that makes sense.
Let's see. And I believe, I don't know if this is true, but I would say that I believe the back of the 64 gigabyte variant, the Sandstone Black, I think that they fabricated it with a 3D printer, because it feels exactly like, I've ordered several 3D printed things, my Blade Key and cases for other phones that were 3D printed, and it feels like the exact same plastic material. It's the little bit of texture like sandpaper almost, but soft. I believe that they 3D printed, and it's totally on their budget, totally something that would be an option for them.
Yeah, is that a good or a bad thing?
Oh, I think it's a great thing. I think that the more we see stuff like that happening, especially if it's going to drive the price of the phone down. I mean, because we're talking, I just accidentally turned the flashlight on with a gesture. Let's see, turn it back off now. There we go. But yeah, I think it's a great thing. Anything that you can do for parts of the device that you can skip on as far as pricing goes, do it. Because if you can manufacture a part that would normally cost you 2 cents for half a penny, or I don't know if I'm getting these numbers right, but if you can cut something down that much, then I'm all for it. Because we need, and people have said, I think at this point, at this juncture with where we are, we probably won't see much more advancement in the actual specs of a phone, and we'll start seeing more of just cheaper phones. So I totally hope that that's true. I hope that people get over the heart rate monitor fad and barometer and all this crap that they're putting in phones. It's like, no, just take the heart rate monitor out and make the phone $30 or $40 cheaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Well, there's a heart rate monitor on my watch, and I haven't used it once.
Exactly. Because nobody would use it. There's just no reason to use it. It's not. I'm sorry to say, there's not a lot of techies. Okay, I should say the majority of techies aren't really health-conscious people. So putting a heart rate monitor, if you're going to do it, put it into the mid-range regular phone that more people are going to buy, rather than the highest-end device you have out. Because the techies are going to be the ones to buy the highest end device that you have out. Whereas a heart rate monitor may be more suited for something like an iPhone, which is going to be used by mostly elderly people.
And children.
Yes, and children.
Sorry.
Oh no, that's cool. But those are my thoughts. Initial thoughts on the OnePlus. I mean, it is. But it's an awesome phone. I mean, and I don't know if you care about benchmarks, but it benchmarks at like over 38 grand, which is higher than anything else on the list. And truthfully, I don't know enough about it to know if that truly means anything. But it's nice to see the numbers go up that high. And it's bone stock. Like, I haven't done anything to it except change the settings to the way I like. So the one thing my one gripe with it is when you go to turn art on, it says this feature is not supported and it's highly experimental, enable at your own risk. So I have not turned art on, and I'm not going to turn art on until I know somebody else is running it and saying, yeah, it works. Because I don't want to have to do anything to this phone until I have to, basically.
Yep. I actually turned on art on the GPE today. That was one of the reasons I decided to flash GPE was I really wanted to try art, and Sense has too many stupid status bar icons, so I have to use exposed to get rid of some of them. So
Yeah.
I can't turn art on Sense.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, why can't you use? Yeah, I turned art on the regular M8 that I had for review. Um, I was
You
a little
can,
bit.
but
Go
then
ahead.
it literally, you get so many status bar icons that's all
Yeah.
you see in the top of the damn screen. So HTC, I don't know what the hell you were thinking, but stop it, stop it, stop it.
Crazy.
Well, and that drives me nuts. I'm a minimalist anyway, so I want it like blank. So yeah, that drives me nuts. An alarm icon up there, get rid of it. I hate that stuff. Well, I don't want to say I'm jealous of your phone, Tony, but I was wanting to get one, and let me segue into why I'm not getting one and why I haven't been on the show for a few weeks. I was broken into in my house right after I left on a trip with my youth group. Like seriously, like moments after we left at 9, and by noon, when the person that was watching the house and the puppy came in to check on it, door had been kicked in, electronics were stolen, computer that I run the show on has been stolen, and vacation cash was stolen, phone cash was stolen. Okay, yes, I shouldn't keep cash in the house. I get that, but when you've got $5 and you put it in a piggy bank and it ends up adding up, that's just what we were doing. Call us old-fashioned. But that was stolen. A whole bunch of stuff was broken. When they were yanking stuff out, they broke this, that, and the other. So that's where I've been out of commission. I'm on this borrowed laptop, which thank you so much, Jeffrey, for letting me borrow this laptop, because wouldn't even be able to be on here tonight. So that's where I've been. So I wanted the phone. I was planning to purchase the OnePlus, but now I'm kind of can't. So I'll probably eventually get it, but I'm a little delayed in my purchase.
And I actually thought that you had, like I said, I thought that you had gotten it weeks ago. But yeah, no, I totally didn't even realize it. So I hooked him up with the first invite, or the option to get his first invite. Totally didn't realize he got it, and then went and got another invite for myself. But through a different medium, so his invite should still stand if and when he decides to use it. So
yeah, there's some miscommunication in both parties. Let's say that.
yeah.
I'll try to keep it clean.
Yeah, but yeah, no, the OnePlus, it's funny because I almost feel bad, because for somebody, especially if you're deep in the Android community, and I say deep in the Android community, I mean, you write, or you do this, you do something for a site, you're a guest on something, and you're this far in the Android community. I almost feel bad because I was able to just send an email and get an invite sent to me. I mean, I'm talking, once I had the money for it, I sent out the email and I had it purchased the next morning. So I almost feel bad for being able to circumvent the invite system that way. But to me, it's just such a... the phone, I totally understand why people are going so crazy to get these invites, because there's no phone like it. I mean, it's truly a unicorn.
And also, Tony, will you share where Fred is? He's always been on every show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Fred, we really wish you could have been with us tonight, buddy, but he said he was a little bit under the weather, so send some good thoughts, send some prayers his way. Let him know that you're thinking about him. If you think about him on Google Plus this week, say you missed him on the show. We totally missed you, Fred, and we hope you'll be back with us next week for sure.
Definitely.
All right. All right, guys, well, we're getting on that time. So before we launch, because if I start talking about the thing I was going to talk about next, we'll go way too long. Before we launch into another tirade, we'll all say bye and thanks for joining us on the boat. To our couple viewers who were here tonight, and to everybody who watches us on YouTube, we really appreciate you sharing our tech talk with us. Thanks, guys. And thank you. Yeah, thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Alvie, and everybody have a great night.
Yep. Thanks, guys.